Hi class, it's Dr. DiBiase, and I'm here to talk about groups, how they work in Blackboard, and how they're going to work for our course. So when you log into Blackboard and you go to our class homepage, you will now see among the list of options on the left a new link that says groups. And so if you click on groups, it will take you to the groups page. And you will find a link for the group that I have assigned you for the remainder of the course. The group should have between 4 and 5 people in it, depending on where our enrollment is at the time. And if you click on that link, you will see a couple of things. So there will be a group description. At the moment, we don't have group descriptions. I might add them later down the line. You'll see a list of your group members. So if you want to see who is in your group, you can do so. You might even want to go back to the flip grids from earlier this semester just to learn a little bit more about who you'll be working with. You'll see a group discussion board and group tasks. So what are groups going to be doing for our course? Well, groups are going to have two primary goals. The first goal is that groups are going to be used to develop weekly discussions that will take place on your group discussion board. And those discussions will carry out throughout the week. And I'll show you an example of one of them right now for our next week of course. So inside the group discussion board, you will see the forum. This particular forum will host all of the threads tied to our various weekly group discussions for weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you click on that link, it will take you to those threads. So right now, the only thread you should see is weekly discussion 2. It's worth remembering that the conversations that you have in these weekly discussion threads will only be visible to members of your group. So they won't be for the full class, although there will be an opportunity to report out to the class about your discussions. So if you go into the thread, you will see my prompt. So this week, for example, we're talking about issues of processing and composing, with sort of the big question of how people produce texts and how we research the factors that shape that production. And my hope is that as you are responding to this prompt and reading one another's responses, you'll begin to raise new questions, build off of one another's insights, maybe even come up with some questions for me to be thinking about as the conversation moves along during the week. So my expectation is that everyone will post to this prompt, or at least reply to this prompt, and then from there the conversation should hopefully develop relatively organically. Might be a little bit tricky the first week as you're sort of getting used to this, but I think as you get used to your group members, it will come more naturally. And I'll be jumping into the conversation from here, here and there, in order to move things along or answer any questions or simply, see how things are going. If you haven't used Blackboard before, let me show you how to submit a reply to a thread. So you have the prompt here. If you click on reply, you'll get a new window that opens up. The subject will say RE Weekly Discussion 2. So it shows it's directly referring back to the original prompt. We'll just add a test post and click submit. And what you'll see now is my post. It'll give you the name, Weekly Discussion 2. Now, when this conversation is going on, you'll have a couple of options, right? So you can either reply to the original prompt if that's what you're sort of responding to, or alternatively, you can reply to what someone in your group said. So if you want to respond to a particular user, instead of clicking on reply at the prompt, you can reply specifically to their response. And the responses to earlier posts will be sort of nested so that it's clear how the conversation has developed. Again, if things get a little bit messy the first week and threads get a little bit, chaotic, that's okay. It's a learning process. We'll figure it out, and I'll jump in to try and help sort things out as we're going. But again, I'm looking forward to seeing your responses to this week's prompt, and that will be live really as soon as this video is up, so you can start jumping in immediately to begin thinking through those questions. At the end of the week, once the conversation has come to sort of a conclusion, one member of the group will be responsible for putting together an end of the week Flipgrid video that provides a summary of the conversation from that week. So this isn't live on Flipgrid yet. This will open up on Friday, but you'll see a week 2 discussion recap going live at the end of the week. And so whoever you and your group has decided to post for that particular week will review the conversation, make note of major takeaways, questions, points, insights that were raised, and put together a short recap video that will be visible to the class that will help the class understand what were some things that were going on in your group's conversation. And so as I note here, right, what kinds of questions did you raise? What points did your group members come up with? What directions did the conversation take? You might think about connections between what we did this week and what you saw in the previous week. And this is an opportunity to highlight not only the work of your group, but also to highlight the work of specific members in your group if you think they did a particularly good job. So by the end of the semester, every person in the group will be responsible for providing one of these discussion recaps. If you're in a 4-person group, this is, works out really easily. It means, one person each week. If you happen to have 5 in your group, that's not a big deal either. It just means that in 1 week, 2 of you will provide independent recaps to give 2 different perspectives. Or alternatively, you could choose to work together with that, with a partner to put together a joint recap video. But that might be a little bit more logistically challenging. So again, remember, only 1 group member is responsible for posting each given week's recap, unless you have 5 in your group, in which case during one of those weeks, 2 through 5, there'll be a double up, which is fine. It's not going to be a big deal. If we go back to the groups page and you go to your group, and your group's names will be things like, writing group 1, writing group 2, etc. You'll also see group tasks. So the other major thing that the groups are going to be used for this semester is working together on our various major projects. And in most cases, that's going to mean replying to one another's drafts, but I might also have other tasks that I'd like you to do. In the group task section, you can post notes to the group about things that need to get done in terms of the work of the group, whether that is notes for who is replying to whose draft, or who needs to reach out to a particular resource, or who needs to post something to the discussion board. And I'll just show you what that looks like. So in this sample, let's say that I wanted to remind someone in the group that they were responsible for reaching out to the professor. I might leave a note saying, Mike, email Professor D. And Mike, once he had done the task, could then click on this little arrow and mark it as either being in progress, which will update the task status, or after getting perhaps a response from the professor, might say completed. In order to create a task, you just click on create group task, and we might say in this case, maybe we're putting a reminder to Evan that he needs to reply to Sophia's draft. And then again, Evan could update this to let the group know where in this process he is with regards to the task. This is not something that you're going to be required to use, but it is a tool that your group could make use of to help keep track of project items as you're making your way through the different projects that we're doing this semester. So that more or less covers the major group responsibilities that you're going to have. So just to do a quick recap, each week from here on out, you'll be responsible for having a robust participation in your group's weekly discussion thread. It won't be sufficient to post a single response. I really do expect you to be engaged in a conversation with your group. As a reminder, the expectation is that you're putting in approximately 12 to 15 hours of work a week. Some of that time should be blocked away for engaging on the discussion board, and I'll be checking in on those again throughout the week. After the week is done, one person will be responsible for posting a recap Flipgrid, and I'll talk more about that as we get closer to Friday, just to sort of bring up some issues that you should be thinking through. And then finally, there are the group tasks that you can assign if you think it would help your group kind of keep on track with various project deadlines, etc. Again, in most cases, those tasks are going to be related to providing peer feedback to one another, but you might get creative and figure out other ways to make use of those tasks to help you organize your labor. So If there are any questions about how the groups are going to operate, feel free to reach out to me via email. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing how these discussions develop over the course of the week. I encourage you to jump in there early in the week to get things started. The earlier everyone posts, the more time you'll have for the conversation to develop, and by the end of the week, you should hopefully have something that looks pretty interesting. So, hope everyone's doing well, and take care.